Enjoy the view.
With a beautiful blue sky.
Venice. The very name is emotive, conjuring up images of a fairy tale place of canals, gondolas, and the Gothic and classic architecture of buildings, churches and palaces. Though my first impressions were in response to the beauty of the place, there followed an almost overwhelming awareness of history and intrigue. When I told people I was coming here, many responded by saying, "That's one place I always wanted to visit." It's not just the scenery and history, but it ranks up there with Paris and Rome as a romantic destination, and its beauty is often depicted at its most stunning in movies and documentaries. First impressions were that I was really glad to be here and couldn't wait to get out there and enjoy and explore. Here we go. My son Nate joined me. We headed out Sunday evening, arriving quite late.
We're now in Venice. We arrived late at night, took the bus straight in, checked in the hotel, and now we're out for a midnight snack. The only thing left open is a pizzeria, so we're getting what's it, quattro formaggio. It's a 4-cheese pizza with mozzarella, gorgonzola, brie, and Emmental.
Hey, you're on. It's from BBC. BBC. No.
BBC, yeah?
Joe.
I chose our hotel carefully, and what really clinched it, apart from it not being overly expensive, was the veranda breakfast every morning overlooking the Grand Canal. Special. Great way to start the day. The highlight of breakfast was the double espresso and foamed milk that kept arriving at our table until we were suitably prepared for the day. The free Wi-Fi was an added bonus. Just watching life on the Grand Canal was great. The activity especially highlighting the fact that there are no roads here, just water, and everything has to be done by boat. And so as we sat and ate breakfast, we got a front row seat for everyday life in Venice, seeing everything from daily deliveries, the water taxis, the rubbish collection, the water bus, and of course the gondolas. So how did this all begin? Venice was a swamp until the hordes of Attila the Hun and other barbarians forced the residents of northern Italy to flee here to find refuge. But the place then prospered. By the Middle Ages, pilgrims were stopping here on their way to the Crusades, and later it became an industrial and arts center offering both employment and entertainment. Now it is one of the most prolific tourist destinations in the world, with up to 20 million tourists a year visiting a place the population of which is only 60,000. It's said there are usually more tourists here than residents. Ask yourself, when did you first hear of Venice? For me, it was Shakespeare, his famous merchant. What was his name now? Antonio. And of course, the pitiful Shylock. And Othello, the Moor of Venice. Some say, by the way, that Shakespeare visited here, though the evidence is only implied from his writing. he knew a lot about the place. Venice was also famous for its music, especially Baroque. Other well-known Venetians include explorer Marco Polo, Bellini, the notorious Casanova, even Mantovani. History is all around. 1,000-year-old churches and 600-year-old palaces and houses. The place has changed so little that were former residents like Marco Polo to return, they would immediately recognize it. At its height, Venice was the most powerful city in the Mediterranean. Coffee time in the most famous place in Venice, St. Mark's Square.
We're now in San Marco, about to get a latte in the square.
Not, I might add, the cheapest or the best coffee in the world for that matter, but the best company.
Beautiful sunny day.
The latte cost about £7. We paid for the location and the view. But you know, it was worth it. The Doge's or Duke's Palace is the most notable building in Venice. The Doges were the chief magistrates and leaders of Venice for over 1,000 years. They were elected for life by Venice's aristocracy. The palace dates from around 1170. It's still a place of stunning beauty. Its Venetian Gothic architecture, statues and courtyard still magnificent. The facade of pink Verona marble is supported by lace-like arches. Lace being an important product of Venice at that time. The facade of the courtyard even looks like a lace creation. The roofline shows Islamic influence. One can still walk over its famous bridge, the Bridge of Sighs, which connects the palace to the prison, so called as condemned prisoners would sigh as they got their last glimpse of Venice as they walked to their executions. This is the view they got. The connected prison is in stark contrast to the palace. A later addition, the giant staircase, is guarded by statues of Mars and Neptune to protect on both land and sea. The winged lion behind them representing Venice. The Doges ruled from around 700 to 1797. San Marco was crowded as usual, but impressive nevertheless. People taking pictures, having a coffee, taking a stroll. We made our plans, and then got a glimpse of sinking Venice. And decided to head into the back canals, getting lunch on the way.
We're sitting at the Ristorante Piscine, just off Marco Piazza.
There are the quiet backwaters of Venice, and the not-so-quiet ones. San Marco to Rialto is the busiest. We encountered many tourists, enjoyed seeing the many gondolas. But it's certainly not as pretty, romantic, or fascinating as the route from Rialto to the railway station. But strangely, it's the route most gondoliers take. Plenty of expensive shops here, but some nice views. The 118 islands of Venice need all the bridges they can get, over 400. Some interesting places, a Chinese pizzeria, and even the chance to hear the songs of the canals.
Mi dipingevo le mani e la faccia di blu. Poi d'improvviso venivo dal vento rapito e cominciavo a volare nel cielo infinito. Volare, cantare.
The singing was better than Dean Martin. We got to see corners of Venice that no doubt hold many secrets. Even one-way canals. I like coffee and ice cream. And this local piazza was ideal. The Campo Santa Maria Famosa. Then we walked past the San Bartolomeo Square to the Rialto Bridge and enjoyed the views there as darkness descended. A great day in Venice.
Had a beautiful breakfast. I think this is the best place we've been since we came to Venice, is sitting here on the Grand Canal, having a coffee, having breakfast. So we've been here for over an hour, thoroughly enjoying it. Weather is good.
The Grand Canal runs like an enormous serpent through Venice. The buildings which line its banks date from the 13th to 18th centuries and are a hallmark of Venice. Venetian families showed off their wealth by elaborately decorating the fronts of their houses. Still a pleasure to behold. It is said that it follows the path of an ancient river, and it certainly looks that way as it winds its way through the city. Many churches are also built right on the canal, and 4 bridges now cross it. The most famous and an icon of Venice is the Ponte Rialto. The boats on the canal are both numerous and diverse, from the iconic gondolas to the rubbish boat. In between, As far as the tourist is concerned, there are the vaporetti, or water buses, and the expensive water taxis. To go up the campanile, or bell tower of St. Mark's Church, is a must. The 318-foot tower commands excellent views over the entire city, especially on a clear day. Rebuilt in 1912 after the original tower collapsed, it was opened exactly 1,000 years after the original foundations were laid. From 5 o'clock in the evening, the bells will strike the hour. From here, one can better see the two columns of the square below, the winged lion of Venice on the left, and St. Theodore slaying a crocodile to the right. In the distance, San Giorgio and Guidecca. Below, San Marco's Square. Our 3-day pass boat ticket included the islands, so we took the short trip to the island of Murano, about a mile to the northeast of Venice. On a beautiful sunny day, the trip itself is enjoyable. It doesn't take too long, and it's soon visible on the horizon. The boat traffic, even out here, is very busy. The pace is certainly slower out here, but first impressions that it's certainly a colourful place. It's well known for its glass blowing industry, apparently moved here from the centre of Venice in the 13th century for fear of causing fire. It's a really picturesque place, quiet and clean, and one of those special places in Venice where you can just take your eyes, your ears, your taste buds, and enjoy. It's like a miniature Venice, but I was particularly impressed by the peaceful, laid-back feel that it had. Visited the glass museum that even had Roman glass and other artifacts on display. Nice views over the canals too. It's so sleepy a backwater that most of the restaurants close at 6 o'clock, so we headed back to San Marco for dinner. This time of the year in Venice, the sun goes down at 9 o'clock. The lights come on, and it's different. We were finishing dinner as it happened, and then we walked up to San Marco. I remember coming to Italy as a teenager, shooting slides, and seeing them for sale in souvenir shops. There would always be a section by night. Every place, it seems, has a different feel to it at night. We had a nice feeling. It's been a good day in a very picturesque place. nice walk up the ancient promenade, and San Marco Square was magnificent. So too the ride up to Rialto. The lights reflect on the canal. The restaurants are beginning to fill up. People stand around just taking in the scene. Taking more pictures now because everything takes on a different character. And sure enough, it seems like the city is getting ready to sleep. The bustle is gone. The sun has closed its eyes. Must admit, it's the right time to shoot. Blue and gold. It's the time memories are made. And we made a memory, FaceTiming my daughter Rachel in New York as we went under the Rialto Bridge. She was in a meeting with her boss, but seeing the bridge, they had an adjournment, and he too said hi. This is what they saw. Venice by night. And that was just the bus ride back to the hotel. On our third day here, we woke up to another beautiful day. I wanted to spend time on Guidecca. We boarded the number 2 water bus. Not a cloud in the sky. We got a seat on the back of the boat, but it became a front seat as Venice unfolded before our eyes. Fascinating. As we passed the railway bridge, it looked like some dinosaur exhibit in a museum. And as we left Tronchetto, it seemed like we were heading out to sea. I suppose we were. And so after this brief excursion, we passed several private ships. Then we entered the Guidecca Canal, a channel separating the island of Venice that is a natural channel and quite wide, up to 320 meters. The ferry route here crisscrosses the canal a couple of times, opening up great views. The promenade and buildings on the Venice side are beautiful. We disembarked right in the middle of the island.
Alright, we're just on some long island south of the main part of Venice. Just gonna walk along, get a coffee, and overlook the San Marco Piazza and enjoy the view.
Believe it or not, a temporary votive bridge is built every year from this point across the canal. So pilgrims can visit the church here in their thousands for the Feast of Redentore every July. A walk along the promenade here has to be one of the best in Venice, with bridges and historic buildings on one side and a panorama of Venice on the other. So what do you think? Is this a restaurant with a view, or view with a restaurant? We sat and enjoyed a latte. On a beautiful day here, one can enjoy Venice minus the trinket sellers, the gondoliers, the crowds, and to a large extent, the 21st century. In times past, the southern part of the island was mainly homes and gardens, where the Venetian nobles would come in summer and autumn. Guidecca was originally known as Spina Lunga, meaning long thorn. Some speculate the present name may be from the Latin Giudecca, literally meaning Jewish things. Apparently there were 2 synagogues here. We decided to go back around the way we came. That way we would get the best seats for the Grand Canal. So here it is, the Grand Canal on a beautiful day.
Beautiful day. We couldn't hope for better, and so clear.
On reaching San Marco in the early evening, we encountered the crowds, but we also encountered the atmosphere. This is the heart of Venice. The gondolas bobbing in the lagoon, smiling tourists anticipating a memorable ride, and history all around. The Adriatic lapping the shore. Sit a while, take it in, enjoy it. These views have changed little in 500 years. Well, apart from the sculpture literally sitting outside San Giorgio Basilica, its creator clearly reinventing the king's new clothes. Omar Sharif obviously felt the same about it. The trip out to San Giorgio takes only a few minutes. It's thought the island was probably occupied even during Roman times. The beautiful Basilica to St. George was consecrated in 829. The present building, designed by Palladio and begun in 1566. There are great views of San Marco from here, but even better, take the lift up the bell tower and enjoy great views across Venice. The Guidecca promenade, the monastery. First built in 1467, the tower collapsed in 1774 and was rebuilt in the neoclassic style by 1791. From the top you can survey the view with St. George. Enjoy the bells striking the hour. We then took the ferry through the Guidecca Canal and once more delighted in the resplendent scenery. The Rialto Bridge. If you visit the Venetian in Macau or Las Vegas, you'll see replicas of the things that epitomize Venice. The canals, the Doge's Palace, and the Rialto Bridge, or Ponte di Rialto. The span was designed by Antonio da Ponte and completed in 1591. The Rialto is and has been for centuries the business and commercial center of Venice. Even Shakespeare has Shylock asking, "What news on the Rialto?" The Wall Street of medieval Italy. Today, it still has its markets. And the Grand Canal here is at its busiest. Every traveler to Venice needs to take time to explore away from the Grand Canal and just get lost. Just wander around. Keep track on the map if you want, so you can retrace your steps next time.
Just taking in some of the views as we're walking from the Rialto Bridge. Actually very peaceful, and we're able to just enjoy the atmosphere of Venice. It's very nice.
But don't aim for any place in particular. No particular place to go means you'll discover so many interesting and fascinating things. The off-the-beaten-track Venice, if there's such a thing, the old Venice. Stop along the way, have a cappuccino at a small cafe. Walk over 100 small bridges. Observe the doors and the doorways and the windows. The sights of quiet Venice. The midday sun dancing on the face of a guardian. The tranquility. One of the nicest little places we passed was a cafe next to a small canal and bridge called La Zucca, that I later read had some of the best local food in Venice. I chatted with a couple of locals sitting outside and remember thinking what a great location it was and enjoyed the moment. The streets in Venice are called Cal. This is actually not Italian, but the Venetian language meaning road or street. Venetian descends from Vulgar Latin and is influenced by the Celts and the languages of the Germanic tribes. This is a typically local square. It's like a village inside a city. Beautiful, peaceful, and relaxing. Walking around inner Venice, so to speak, lets us get a glimpse of places that have a special beauty of their own, often not a person in sight. One thing I love to do here is just imagine. The place is relatively unchanged for centuries, apart from the boats and the attire of the people. So back to the Grand Canal.